Thanks for pressing play on another video of unusual facts. Today we'll talk about the top 10 most unusual and weirdest motorcycles ever made. Stick around all the way to the end so that you find out about one of the oldest motorcycles we've heard of. We'll start with the Megola Motorcycle. The Megola, built in Germany from 1921 to 1925. The Megola had one of the most unorthodox powertrain designs ever successfully offered in a production motorcycle. Its 640cc, 5-cylinder, air-cooled, side valve, radial, 4-stroke engine was mounted directly at the front wheel, eliminating the need for a clutch and gearbox. A single carburetor mounted on the right side of the fork fueled the engine. It had a fuel tank in the riveted and welded Monaco Q-frame, but that acted as a reserve. Fuel had to be pumped into a smaller tank mounted above the carburetor on the front fork for operation. With the front wheel up on the center stand, the bike could be started by spinning the front wheel and idle in place. Or with the wheel down, the rider could simply bump start it and be off. There was no front brake, but it had a dual rear brake system. Versions with bucket seats or saddle-type seating were built, and the front fork had leaf spring suspension. Racing versions could top 85 miles per hour with excellent handling. The bike was successful in competition. Ner-a-Car Motorcycle. Ner-a-Car, another machine that could have had a bucket seat and featured a low center of gravity and hub center steering. This Ner-a-Car was built in both the US and the UK from 1921 to 1926. Built with a 283cc two-stroke single-cylinder engine in the US and 347cc four-stroke single-cylinder in the UK. The Ner-a-Car initially had a 5-speed friction drive to the rear wheel and later had 3-speed transmission and train drive system. The clutch was operated with a twist grip on the left handlebar. The chassis was an automotive style, twin-channel steel item that contributed to its low stance and what was touted as uncanny stability and cornering. The Ner-a-Car became recognized as one of the most reliable machines, as well as with Mrs. G.M. Jackson completing an ACU-observed solo 1,000-mile trial without ever shutting the engine off in 1925. The IME Motorcycle. Perhaps German engineering and efficiency were never put on display more efficiently than in the IME. Built in 1948 to 1951, with advanced features like a single-sided front fork and single-side rear swing arm and cantilevered rear suspension, features that would not find their way into the designs of other brands until many years later. The ultra-light IME was way ahead of its time, with the engine, drivetrain, and rear end of the bike built as one unit. The single-side swing arm also functioned as the exhaust system. A tiny 98cc two-stroke engine powered the early models, with a twin-cylinder 148cc engine being fitted on later models. Ascot-Pullen. As manufacturers sought ways to refine and economize on the manufacturing process, pressed steel monocoque and unit body style approaches became attractive alternatives to labor-intensive welded tube designs. The English Ascot-Pullen was built with pressed steel chassis, front fork, and guards from 1928 to 1930. This bike had a 498cc four-stroke single-cylinder engine and dry sump lubrication. Rockin Trailbreaker. Having both front and rear wheel drive on a motorcycle was probably thought of by many designers over the last century plus of motorcycle development, but the only successful production example we could locate is the Rokon. Developed in 1958 by Charles Fenn, manufacturing rights were sold to Nethercutt Industries in 1960. In the 1960s, production was moved from California to Vermont and later to New Hampshire. In 1973, automatic transmission was offered. Among all the designs attempted, the Rokon also has the singular feature in that it can be laid on its side in deep water and it will float. Quasar. A more modern interpretation of the Ner-a-Car theme was the Quasar. Designed by the late Malcolm Newell, built in England from 1976 to 1994, powered by a 750cc four-cylinder Reliant automobile engine and equipped with a 4-speed gearbox and full-roof fiberglass body, it offered some degree of weather protection and excellent aerodynamics. Similar design approaches are found in the Swiss Ecomobile and the British-built Voyager. Michaux-Perreaux Steam Velicipde. It seems only fitting to begin this look at the groundbreaking production motorcycles with the very first known to have been mass-produced. Created by Louis-Guillaume Perret, a small commercially available steam engine was fitted to a Michaux bicycle frame. Several hundred of these steam-powered machines were produced each year from 1868 to 1871 in France, making the Michaux-Perreaux Steam Velicipde what is believed to be the world's first production motorcycle. Scot Flying Squirrel. Scot. While two-stroke engines were popular in many early motorcycle designs, in the early 20th century, they were far from optimal, noisy, stinky, and unreliable, prone to overheating. It was Englishman Alfred Scot who took the two-stroke engine from a cheap, low-performance utility motor to a reliable, high-performance machine. His liquid-cooled, parallel twin-cylinder engine had a 180-degree crank and displaced 333 cc. A 3-port intake system and large internal flywheel between the two separate crankcases gave the Scot exceptional power and quelled the vibration two-strokes were known for. The Scot was the first motorcycle with a kickstarter instead of pedals to start the engine, as well as being the first production bike to have a foot gear shift. By 1911, Scot became the first to use rotary disc intake valves. Other manufacturers wouldn't catch up with Scot's innovative design for two-strokes until the 1970s. Bomberland Motorcycle. Bohmerland. In stark contrast to the wispy IME design, the Czech Bomberland, built from 1925 to 1939, was built with heavy-duty hard use in mind. The massive steel double-cradle frame housed a 598cc single-cylinder OHV Leibich 4-stroke engine, and the frame's top rails extended all the way back past the rear wheel. Twin fuel tanks were mounted at the rear of the frame, and aluminum disc wheels were used to save weight on the very long wheelbase machines. Some models were designed to seat 3 passengers. Majestic 350. The name Majestic was quite popular as a motorcycle marquee at the beginning of the 20th century, being claimed by 2 English, 1 Belgian, and 1 French manufacturer between 1904 and 1934. It was this French model that pushed the boundaries of styling with its streamlined unit body look, automotive-style chassis, duplex steering, and air-cooled 350cc engine. Well, there's a look at the top 10 most unusual and weirdest motorcycles ever made. Have you ever seen one of these in person? Let us know in the comments below what that experience was like. Did you get to ride it? Give us a thumbs up if you learned something new about bicycles here.